Hey there, we have like eons of stories to tell, so if you want to follow us along on this journey and keep up with all the stories that we have putting out, make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Hey, what is up, y'all? Chad here, and today we are going to be continuing with Thor God of Thunder. So with this story, we're actually almost done. We probably have like this one and then one more after this one. The next, oh my god, the next the next video is gonna get so crazy. Oh my god, it's insane. Like the way this story ends, it's actually crazy. But today we're actually just gonna start back up. So basically, the young Thor, he was like he just got from, you know, out of the cave with Gorr the God Butcher. You know, Gorr was basically like torturing him and stuff. And you know, he ended up the Vikings, they ended up coming in there and, like, you know, like disrupting Gorr. You know, Thor was able to, you know, fight his way out. You know, stuff like that. And the old and present day Thor, they both end up like meeting each other because Thor followed Gorr the God Butcher like through the time pool, and he ended up like meeting himself, you know, like the old King Thor pretty much, right? So with young Thor, right, this one starts out with young Thor, and he's like, you know, he's having these dreams, right? He's having dreams of the God, but you know, Gorr's like, you know, oh, I'm coming for you, you know, stuff like that basically. And like he wakes up and, you know, he's like on guard, and, you know, like he ends up going back to bed, you know, stuff like that, and he ends up just, you know, like just trying to forget about it, right? But he has like this eerie feeling that Gorr isn't gone. Like he thinks that he killed him, but he has like this feeling that he isn't really, you know, dead, which is actually true. Like bro's not, bro didn't do nothing. Like he's still out there. But from there we go to old Thor, right? He's like talking to young Thor, and he's basically like talking about, you know, like how he got here, you know, like time travel and stuff like that. Talking about because the young Thor, he's like asking, and he's like, okay, well how did I get here? Like why? If I only came in like a little bit after Gorr, like why has he been here for 900 years and I only been here for, like, you know, a few seconds, you know, stuff like that. And, you know, Thor, he's just basically like trying to explain time travel, you know, and stuff like that. And basically what he says is like ever since Gorr like got there, he was basically, you know, stuck on Asgard. Like the old Thor, he was stuck on Asgard. He couldn't leave. Like Gorr had like his minions and stuff like that. All the black berserkers, like they're just like, you know, hounding him pretty much. So he couldn't go nowhere. He couldn't die. None of that stuff. He was just been stuck there while Gorr has been, you know, initiating his plans and stuff, right? So old Thor, he starts like explaining, you know, how he has the Thor force and all that stuff, and he's basically telling the present day Thor to, you know, start, you know, get ale, you know, like he sends him to this room, and it's basically like just a bunch of, like, you know, alcohol and stuff, you know, telling him to drink, you know, because they're basically their last stage, you know. He has a feeling that, you know, all these guys are about to die pretty much. So he ends up doing that, and like we go back to like young Thor, right? So we go to young Thor, and young Thor, he's just sitting there fighting this black berserker. Like we didn't see when, like, how he got there. He just runs him through the building, you know, and he's just like taking it to this thing, right? And like eventually this berserker, right? He pulls something from himself, right? It's like this crystal. So basically, this crystal, if you remember, like when Gorr went to the future the first time, he went in like inside a time pool, you know, it was like this red liquid, and, you know, he just like walked inside of it, and he like came out of it, and he was in the future, or in the past, well, the future too. Basically, that is what this crystal is. When he throws this crystal at Thor, it basically like sends him to like right there to where Gorr is at. Like it bursts open, and like this liquid, Thor just like falls inside of it, and he like comes out of it, and he's like right there in front of Gorr the God Butcher. Like when Gorr went to the future, you know, he's like decked out in like the all black basically. That's where it sends young Thor. So now young Thor is all the way in the future. He's not like in his own time anymore. Young Thor and present day Thor, or the present day Thor and the old Thor, they're both like in the future. So all these guys are like, you know, huddled up in the same time period right now. So old Thor, he's like telling, you know, like the present day Thor, like what happened to Asgard, stuff like that, and basically talking about, you know, how for the past 900 years, you know, like basically that stuff going on, right? So they end up like going to get this boat, right? They go to this boat, and he's basically like telling young Thor, or the present day Thor, how, you know, like he has the Thor force, right? Like he's basically talking about the Thor force, you know, and the present day Thor, he's just like asking, he's like, oh, well, you mean the Odin force, you know, like why is it called the Thor force? And he's basically like telling him, okay, well, I'm the All Father here, right? So I got the Thor force, so it's not, you know, we've been calling it that for like, you know, the past 10,000 years or so. So I mean, that's basically what it is. And basically, like, he's telling him how since, you know, the present day Thor came and, like, you know, showed up, and all of the black berserkers just started retreating, it basically like reinvigorated him pretty much, right? Like he's ready to, you know, take it back to him, because at first he was just like ready to die. Like he didn't care anymore. He was trying to die because he was the last Asgardian there. Nobody was with him. He was just alone for like the past like 900 years. Like he was just ready to die. Like he was just being, you know, like forced to stay alive pretty much, right? So all right. So from there, the young Thor, right? Like he ends up like, you know, getting tortured, you know, beat up, stuff like that. And Gorr, he ends up like sending him to do like slave work, right? So he has all these different gods, all these different slaves, you know, all of them just like out there working, you know, trying to finish the plans of Gorr. You know, he has all these dudes just like doing all this stuff for him pretty much, right? Now, with the librarian, right? If you remember him, this is the guy who, you know, he's in the hall of the, you know, the gods and stuff like that, basically where all the information is on all these different gods, right? He's basically like overseeing him, and he's basically talking to these two guys. Well, he's talking to this one guy, you know, Shadrach. He's just like there, you know, he's just in, he's just back there just sitting, and basically he's talking to like one of the time gods, and basically he's trying to like find these plans to, you know, help Thor out, because like Thor, he got captured, you know, and, well, he went to like the future, and you know, he's trying to figure out like, you know, like how he can help the Thor out, right? And he's basically like, you know, like asking these guys to, you know, like assemble like troops and stuff pretty much, right? So he like looks back at Shadrach, and he's like asking Shadrach like, you know, like what do you know about Gorr the God Butcher? And like Shadrach, he's just like talking, he's like, oh well, this is better, you know, like stuff like that, and basically saying like, oh, like whenever all this is done, it'll, you know, all be done for real. And basically, like, he starts asking Shadrach who he is, and like Shadrach, he's just like, oh, I'm like god of pancakes, you know, stuff like that, trying to like dodge it. You know, he doesn't want to tell the librarian like what's going on, because the librarian, he's pissed right now. He is triggered. Like he is really trying to get to the bottom of this, and Shadrach is just like BSing. And Shadrach the entire time, he's just like, okay, I mean, like after all this, like it won't even matter, you know, stuff like that. Basically, just like talking super like, you know, cryptic. And basically, like when he's like asking, you know, Shadrach what he is, and Shadrach, he's like, I'm the god, you know, of bombs. And that's when young Thor looks over, and there's this massive bomb. Like it is huge. It's like a little tiny planet. It is so huge. And it's basically like this huge bomb. That's the god bomb. So basically, what the god bomb is basically just like this really huge like explosive. It's just gonna blow up all of the gods from like the future, the present, the past. Every god that has ever lived will be just destroyed like as soon as this thing goes off. Like that's basically what this thing is. And he has all these slaves just working on it pretty much, right? So present day Thor and and old Thor, they're still like going to, you know, like they're on their way. They're in their boat, you know, on their way to Gorr the God Butcher, like his planet where he has the god bomb at. And basically like I love the way Thor talks, because he's just like, he sees the present day Thor, he's just like, oh wait, go and polish thine hammer or grow a beard before I cast thy ass overboard. And it is hilarious the way that he talks. I just snorted. The way he talks is so funny. So from there we actually got young Thor, right? You know, he's doing his work. He's doing his work for Gorr the God, but you know, the slave work, you know, stuff like that. And basically while he's doing it, these black berserkers, you know, they're just like sitting there. They have these whips, and they're just like smacking them with the whip, right? And eventually he's just like, okay, like stop hitting me. And, you know, he like throws this rock at one of the berserkers. So when he does that, you know, he's like talking to these things. He's like, oh yeah, well come and fight me, you know, like I'm no like slave, you know, stuff like that. And basically these other three slaves, these three female slaves, they end up like coming to him, you know, like roundhouse kicking him, you know, taking him out real quick. And they end up trying to get him back to work, right? So like Thor, he's just like, you know, like hot-headed, you know, like the young Thor, he's like, you know, like brash, you know, stuff like that. You know, he doesn't think before he acts. He just like goes in for, you know, stuff. And he's basically like just like, you know, taking it to these girls, right? And basically like he's basically asking them if they're just gonna, you know, like lay down and, you know, like become slaves, you know, like do stuff like that. And basically what they tell him is like every time that they do some stuff, like every time they get out of line, every time they start, you know, causing, you know, a ruckus pretty much, Gorr, he takes one of the gods, he kills him, and he just like crucifies him like every single time. So like instead of them just like fighting back, they just sit there and just like do whatever. So no one else will die. You know, they have friends on these crucifixes. They're not trying to have no more people dead. You know, they're just trying to, you know, sit there, do what he asks, so no one else will die pretty much, right? So Thor, he goes back to work, right? He goes back to work, and he's like looking at this bomb, and he's just like, what is this? Because he doesn't, right now he doesn't know what it is. He like we do, because we, you know, we're reading the story, you know, but like he doesn't know what this thing is. Like he just looks at it, he's like, okay, what is that? And then like this little kid like walks up. It looks like Gorr. It's like this little kid. He just like walks up, and he's like talking. He's like, okay, well that's a bomb right there. Like when that goes off, all the guys that have ever existed, like they're gonna die. Like he's gonna incinerate all of y'all. And basically what he does is like, you know, like he's basically like saying that like Gorr is his father, right? So this is the child of Gorr. What he's telling Thor is like when Thor like is like asking him like why, like, you know, like why he doesn't like gods, you know, stuff like that. Basically he starts telling Thor like, you know, like the rundown. He starts giving him like the whole like spiel. So basically he's like talking about like how you know, after gods are gone, you know, like you know, faith will be gone, right? So, you know, you won't have to, you know, put your faith in something that you don't know is there. You know, you can put your faith in yourself, you know, like other people that you know are there, you know, your friends, you know, stuff like that. You know, you can actually live your life the way you want to live it, and not have to, you know, just like submit to like, you know, a god pretty much, you know, stuff like that. And basically Thor, he just like starts talking trash about Gorr, right? He's just like talking trash. He's just like calling him a madman, you know, stuff like that. And basically, this little boy, he like sticks his finger up and just like pokes Thor's neck. And basically, Thor just like, you know, he's like turns over. He's just like stuck there, like paralyzed. So from there, like later that night, right? The slaves, you know, they're all up in this cave, right? And they're basically like, you know, trying to make this plan. They have this plan, getting ready to like fight back against Gorr, right? And they're basically gonna try to like, you know, fight back before the bomb is finished. Because if they don't, like, they're all just dead. Like when this bomb goes off, like all these guys, like since they're gods, they're just gonna like die. Like they're going with it. So they end up like looking for a leader, right? They look for somebody to actually, you know, like take this bomb and, you know, like go and destroy the god bomb themselves, right? So Thor, you know, he's just like, okay, well, I mean, I'll do it. And they're just like looking at Thor. They're just like, who are you? Like, we don't even know who you are. You just got here, you know, you're you know, messing up what we got going on. Who are you? And he's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm Thor. And that's where we find out these are actually the granddaughters of Thor. Like these are, you know, his kids. And basically, like, there's like, oh, well, he's no Thor, you know, like, we can't even, you know, conjure lightning. Like, how's he a Thor, you know, stuff like that. And basically, he's like, okay, yeah, I mean, we can't, you know, conjure lightning, you know, the atmosphere here, you know, it doesn't work for, you know, stuff like that. And basically, what he does is he asks them like how they're gonna do it, right? He asked them like how are we gonna destroy this bomb? Like the thing is massive. Like we don't, how are we gonna do that? Like what's going on? And basically, what they say is like we've been, you know, like huddling, you know, we've been like bogarting all these different things that we've been mining, right? Like all these different materials, all these different minerals, stuff like that. And basically, we made a bomb of our own. We have like this little like bomb right here. This right here is gonna blow up the god bomb. So what Thor does is like when they turn around, like they start like talking again. Basically, they like look and like Thor, he takes off with the bomb. Like he takes it and he just starts running. Like he Adrian Peterson's the bomb. Like he's just like going with it. And like as soon as he gets out there, right, he's just like taking off all these black berserkers, like every single one of them. They just like look at Thor and they just start trying to chase him. And like what Thor does is he starts using his power and he just like conjures all this thunder. And it's just like, oh, this really is Thor. Like he's over here bringing thunder down. Like this atmosphere isn't even for that. Like and he still is like able to do it. This has got to be Thor. And they're just like, oh yeah, go Thor. Like yeah, go do your thing, Thor. Stuff like that. And Thor, he's just like taking off, right? And like what he does is like he stops. And he like, instead of like taking it all the way there, he like stops and throws the bomb, right? So when he throws this bomb, it like it hits the god bomb and like explodes. And like when it does that, it sends Thor flying. So this is where we get present Thor and old Thor, right? So present Thor and old Thor, they feel it, like they feel this explosion, and they're just like, oh, well, you feel that? And like basically they're feeling the shockwave of it. And like when they're doing that, they end up coming across these like these space sharks. Like these space sharks, they're like huddling around the planet basically, because like a lot of the guys that die, they get sent off to space, and you know their dead bodies are just like, you know, just like left there, they just, you know, perish or whatever. So basically these space sharks, they orbit around the planet basically looking for these dead guys, and they're just like eating those things. And that's where one of these guys like one of these space sharks, they come upon the boat, and they're just like over there just like, you know, messing stuff up. And basically this is where we see young Thor land on the ship. He lands on the ship and grabs one of these sharks, right? And like the present Thor and old Thor, they're just like, oh, well, we got another one here, like what is this? And basically this is where young Thor, he like, they tell him to go get clothes, right? Because he's like, okay, who are y'all? Like Odin, what are you doing here? And basically this is where they tell him like, you know, like well, we're not Odin, you know, we're just you know, just older and stuff like that. And basically they tell him to go get clothes, right? And they all go get prepared to fight, right? They all get their hammers, they all get their like their weapons and stuff. This is where we get the triple Thor team. Like they're about to go to war against Gorr the God Butcher. They're getting ready to like take it to this guy, and they are ready. So if you're new to the channel, subscribe, leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you choosing Comic Book Cheese for all your comic book needs, and I will see y'all in the next one.